Okay, and we are live. So first off, I'd like to say hi and welcome to our presentation this evening. This is the first virtual green and gold orientation session that we're offering to our students for this year. Tonight's topic, of course, is verification as it relates to financial aid processes. And I'm going to turn it over to Jeanine Gemmell, who is the Associate Director of Student Financial Planning here at CIA, and she's going to take us through the presentation. So take it away, Jeanine. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephen, for that introduction. So I just want to welcome everybody this evening to our conversation about verification. As Stephen said, my name is Jeanine Gemmell. I am the Associate Director of Student Financial Planning. This evening, I'm hoping to share with you some important information about the verification process. So you're probably thinking, what is FAFSA verification? So this evening, I'm going to talk about what verification is. Why were you selected for verification? Is it necessary for you to complete it? I hope to be able to answer all your questions and many more this evening. Let's get started. So what is verification? Verification is the process in which the school is required by the Department of Ed to compare the information on your family's tax returns and your W-2s. So it's important that you are providing us with your financial information so that we're able to review what you indicated on your FAFSA. There are 4 different types of verification. There is general verification, there's the educational purpose verification, low income verification, and possible conflicting information verification that we would need to review. Let's talk about some verification facts. The federal government will be the one selecting a FAFSA at random to go through the verification process. It is not the CIA selecting your FAFSA, it is the federal government. About 30% of each school's population is selected. If you are using estimated information or if you do not fill out all of the information on your FAFSA, you do have a greater chance of being selected by the government for this verification process. It is important that when you're filling out the FAFSA that you did use actual financials. If you did estimate or you provided that incomplete information, then it is possible that your FAFSA would be selected for verification. For the 2021-22 FAFSA year, you will be using 2019 financials. You might also be asking yourself, is it important for me to complete the verification process? And the answer is yes. In order to be eligible to receive certain types of aid, if you are selected for verification, you will need to complete that process in order to be eligible for aid. As I mentioned earlier, there are different types of verification. I'm going to kind of go through right now some of the standard items that are typically required when you need to complete verification. Keep in mind, these are just standard items. Sometimes we may ask for additional documentation that is not listed on this list. So for general verification, we would ask for you to fill out a verification worksheet, which is provided to you by the CIA. We would ask for your 2019 W-2s for both your student and the parents. And we would also ask for your 2019 signed tax return. You can also use a 2019 tax transcript, which you can also get from the IRS as well. If you are selected for the educational purpose, we would need a notarized statement of educational purpose, and we would also need an unexpired government-issued photo ID, and that could be in the form of a driver's license or a passport. With regards to the low-income verification, students are selected based on various components that you have inputted in the FAFSA, such as number in household, your family income, number in college, and this is based on the poverty guidelines. So some students may also need to submit what is called a low-income worksheet. And again, this is a form that the CIA will provide to you. There are other types of additional documentation that is sometimes required, and those documents are the following. Sometimes your FAFSA will receive a 400 or 401 code. This is typically displayed on your FAFSA when a parent has listed an IRA distribution and the government is asking for us to check that type of distribution, whether it's a rollover or if it's an IRA distribution. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes with low income, we might also need, after you fill out that low income form, we might also need your W-2s, your signed taxes, potentially amended taxes. And as I stated earlier, these are just some of the standard documentation we can ask. Sometimes we may be asking for additional documentation other than these standard items right here. So you might be saying, okay, I've been selected for verification. Now, how do I get you the documentation that you're asking for? Well, there are several ways that you can get us the documentation. The first way is by scanning and emailing your documents directly to the SFRS office, and that's sfrs@culinary.edu. You can fax your documents directly to us also at 845-905-4030. Or you can definitely mail your documents to us. And there's the address right there on the screen. Feel free to take a snap of that with your phone so that you have that. And as Steve mentioned earlier, this will be available for you later on because we are filming it. I do suggest that if you are going to mail us documents, please make sure that you do not send us the originals. Please make sure that you're sending us a copy so that if for some reason those documents get lost in the mail or they don't reach us, you still have a copy that you're able to resend. I'm just going to touch on some verification tips. As I mentioned earlier, for students who are attending during the 2021-22 year, you're going to be using your 2019 financials. One of the tricks sometimes to not having to provide your tax returns or a tax transcript would be to use the IRS data retrieval tool when completing your FAFSA. When you get to this point in your FAFSA, you are asked whether or not you would like to use the IRS data retrieval tool. If you use the DRT tool, that will enable us to waive those tax returns or the tax transcript. I also want to encourage you to make sure that when you're filling out your FAFSA or you are providing us with documentation based on the type of verification you've been selected for, please make sure that you read all documents and that you're answering the questions that are being asked. Household size, for example, includes mom, dad, stepmom, dad, any siblings. It does not include your family dog or your pet goldfish, but it does include mom, dad, stepmom, stepdad, and any other siblings that live in that household. Please make sure that you sign. Signatures are required for all forms and tax returns as well. If you're sending things in via email, please make sure that you're taking a clear copy or a clear scan of the documents that you are sending so that we are able to see the documents. If you are taking pictures with your phone, please make sure that it is on a flat surface and preferably a surface that is not full of background shapes or lines or scribbles, that type of thing. So on a flat surface like a kitchen counter or your desk, that will help us be able to read the documents that you are sending us. And again, if you are mailing things, please make sure that you do keep a copy of the documents that you are sending in, just in case if something was to get lost in the mail. As I mentioned earlier, we encourage you to reach out to us if you have questions. Sometimes you might have concerns about, am I sending the right document? What exactly do you need? Feel free to contact us. We are available via email at sfrs@culinary.edu. Any student who's attending our New York campus, please feel free to call our 1500 line, which is posted right there on the screen, 845-451-1500. We do have student financial planners available at that number, 8:30 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. And if you are a student who is planning on attending either our California or our Texas campus, we do have a student financial planner at that 707 number who does work California time, so you definitely will be able to reach them as well. If you are looking for different documents that maybe we're asking for, you can find them right on our ciachef.edu website. So definitely feel free to go out there. There are great videos that we have on our website as well, which are referred to as Financial Aid TV. You can go ahead and type in a specific subject matter, and you will get a quick video that is very clear and precise on exactly whatever your question is that you're asking. There are some great videos out there about the verification process, so I do highly encourage you to go out there and to use it. Once again, as I said, this SFRS office and the enrollment management team are here to help you through this verification process. Feel free to reach out to us via phone, email, and we are definitely here to kind of help make this a smooth process for you. At this time, we are here to answer some of your questions related to verification. So please go ahead and use that feature, that Q&A feature that Stephen had mentioned earlier that is out there on the Zoom site.
Thanks, Jeanine. I do have a couple questions queued up that I wanted to toss your way.
Excellent.
So first thing, first question is, which financials do students use if they're selected in the fall?
Okay, so if you are attending in fall 2020, so in a few months, you want to use your 2019 financials. So your 2019 W-2s, your 2019 tax returns.
Great, thanks. And next one is, I think you kind of touched on this during the presentation, but a lot of students in the queue seem to be concerned that they may already have been selected and they may not know it. So will every student have to complete verification?
No, every student will not have to complete verification. Students are randomly selected by the Department of Education for the verification process. If you should have access to your self-service financial aid. And if you go out to that site, it will tell you if you are selected for verification. It will be one of the items on your to-do list or your checklist items. And it'll say that there are some required documents that the school needs. If you click on that, it'll actually give you the forms and the documentation that is needed for you to complete the verification process. But just to reiterate, not every student will be selected for verification. It is a random process that is done by the Department of Education.
Thanks for clearing that up. Next question is, what additional documentation may be requested? Maybe something that you didn't mention. Some students have questions about that also.
Okay, so some of the things sometimes that we might need to ask for is if we are reviewing documentation and we realize that maybe somebody was left off the verification worksheet, so part of the household, so they might need to provide us additional documentation to be able to prove who is in the household. And so sometimes that is just, like I said, correcting or refilling out that verification worksheet. Sometimes there is a missing W-2. As we're looking through the documentation, we realize that, the number of income, wages that's on the tax return does not match up with the W-2. So sometimes it's just kind of working through, looking at what W-2s we have, and maybe there's another W-2 that is out there. Also, sometimes, if you're going through the educational purpose verification, sometimes, we might need some additional information about a previous college that you attended or something like that. So those are some of the additional documentations that sometimes we might ask for that additional information.
Okay, great. I'm going to grab one that literally just popped in. It said, when do people get picked for verification? Like I said, what point in the process? And
Yep.
When could we expect that to happen?
Yep. So typically, as soon as you file your FAFSA, you will get something after you file your FAFSA called the SAR report, which is the student aid report. And on that, it will indicate whether or not your FAFSA is selected for verification. There's lots of different codes on that student aid report. So one of those codes is often telling you that you're selected for verification and that the financial aid office may be asking you for additional documentation. And there's also other items that appear on your student aid report. Again, if you didn't catch that when you filled out your FAFSA, again, do not worry. As I said, you should have access to your self-service, your financial aid self-service page, and on that, it will tell you if you're selected for verification. Now, I am gonna just, another quick tip here is that if you filed your FAFSA and you were not selected, and for some reason you go back into your FAFSA to correct your FAFSA or to update your FAFSA, you can be selected on a second time. So it's very important, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that when you do fill out your FAFSA, you want to make sure that you have the appropriate financials. So in this case, for the 2021-22 year, you want to make sure that you're using your 2019 financials. And you also want to make sure that when you're going to fill out your FAFSA, that you have filled out everything completely. If you leave anything completely, which means you have to go back into your FAFSA, that could also increase your chances of being selected, maybe not the first time, but potentially the second time.
Okay, that's good to know.
And I do just want to add, sorry, Steve, I just want to add one more thing to that. If you did fill out your FAFSA and you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot something, and you're like, should I go out there and update this? Or, I remember that lady on that webinar said, don't do that because you could be selected a second time. Again, feel free to reach out to us. We are here to help you through this process. I have a great team of student financial planners who are here to assist you, to answer any questions that you might have. No question related to verification is silly, so definitely reach out to us. Also on your self-service financial aid page out there, at the bottom of it, it also lets you know who your student financial planner is. So if you're worrying about, like, I don't know who that is, or how do I find that out, it's also right there on that self-service page for the financial aid as well.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Next one I'm going to throw at you is, if you're selected for verification, what is the deadline? What's the timeline for a student to submit everything that they need? I think you might have addressed that a little bit already, but if you could clarify for.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great question. I don't think I probably went into as much detail as I should have on that. So I'll spend a couple of minutes right now on that. So if you are selected for verification, I'm going to say that in order to see a true financial aid package, you want to try and get in all your documentation as soon as possible. So when you are first packaged, you are packaged based on that information that you inputted on the FAFSA. So if you are selected for verification and there is something that we are required to change on your FAFSA on behalf of the documentation that you submitted to us, then that could change your financial aid award package. So you definitely, while there is no deadline to get in your documentation, I do want to encourage you all to take care of completing all the requirements for verification as soon as possible so that you're able to see what your true financial aid package is. If you are selected for verification and you are eligible for certain types of aid, and then we receive documentation, which means we have to correct something on your FAFSA, that could change your financial aid package. So I really encourage you to do this as soon as possible, even though there is no deadline, so that you're able to get your true financial aid package. And then you're able to start working on, what's the balance, and so that you have a true balance based on a true financial aid package. Does that help?
I think so.
Clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's good detail.
Okay.
So I want to give everybody who joined us tonight, who's still on the call, I want to give you another opportunity to submit your questions. I just want to remind everybody, please use the Q&A feature if you have anything else that you'd like to post. But otherwise, I really have come to the end. So if there are any final thoughts you want to add, the last one, of course, you mentioned this, if a student is selected and documents are being requested, who do they contact, and how can they get through this process without panicking and worrying about all of this stuff? So
Yes, definitely. if you are selected for verification or if you have any questions about the process, the Student Financial and Registration Office, which is the SFRS office, we are here to assist you. We work very closely with your enrollment manager. So if you're unsure and you have a good relationship with one of your enrollment managers, you could reach out to them and they could help connect you to your student financial planner. The student financial planning team and the enrollment management team work very closely together to help the students who are, coming in the fall, so that we're able to provide you with as much information so that it helps for as smooth of a transition as possible. Once again, you could find out who your student financial planner is by going out to the financial aid self-service portal. You can do that by going onto your accepted student portal. You just go to self-service and you look for financial aid, and you're able to see right from that, you can kind of see if you are selected for verification and what documents are still outstanding. You can also see if there's other items on your checklist that you need to complete, as well as at the bottom, you will see who your student financial planner is. Once again, for students who are coming in the fall of this year, you are coming in during the 2021-22 year, which means that you should be using your 2019 financials, and those are your 2019 W-2s, your 2019 tax returns.
Great, thanks, Jeanine. I see some other questions popping up in the chat. I think a lot of these are very specific to individual students' financial situations or these scenarios. So I'm going to hold back on that, and I'll just ask you, in the next few minutes, any closing thoughts, closing remarks on maybe financial aid in general or the verification process that we focused on tonight. Maybe some nuggets of wisdom that everybody can take home with them tonight.
Yeah, definitely don't panic about being selected for verification. It doesn't necessarily mean, anything bad. Like I said, it is a random selection. And so you want to just make sure that you are, any documents that we are asking for, that you are providing the correct documents. So what I mean by that is again, as I said, that we are using the 2019 financials for students who are coming in the fall of 2021. So you want to make sure that you provide us with your 2019 financials. You don't want to submit to us your 2018 or your 2017 financials. You want to make sure that you're submitting the appropriate year to us. And if you're unsure after this, this webinar, or if you're talking to someone and you feel like you're still not quite sure, just ask. We are here to help you. We are here to make this process as smooth as possible. Again, my other tidbit of information is that if you are sending us documents, please make sure that you keep a copy of everything that you are sending us. If you're going to drop something in the mail, obviously the mail does take a little bit longer, and sometimes the mail is unpredictable. So I definitely wouldn't want you to send us your original tax return for 2019 and then it doesn't make it to us. So definitely make sure that you take copies of everything that you do send us. Again, you don't necessarily even have to mail anything to us. You can definitely go ahead and scan or take a photo with your phone. You just want to make sure that the photo is very clear and on a flat surface, with a solid background in the back. That would help us be able to read those things a little bit clearer, or make sure when you do scan that it is a clear scan to us. Or you could also fax it to us. We have a fax machine that you could definitely send that to us as well. So any of those types of things are definitely some, quick tidbits about how to get us the documents and to make sure that the documents are clear for us to be able to review. Another good tidbit of information is to, make sure that when you are submitting items to us, is that if you're emailing them or you're faxing to us, you want to make sure that the student's name is on the documents that you are sending to us, because sometimes we might be asking for parent information and maybe the parent's name isn't the same as the student's name. So sometimes it's important to make sure that you identified who the student is so that we're able to match those documents up to the appropriate student. So, definitely, just don't get nervous about this process or about the financial aid process. I do, again, highly encourage and want to stress that, while there is no deadline or priority date to get in your documentation, I do want to encourage to get your documents in as soon as possible by submitting the documents and ensuring that we're able to complete the verification process. That ensures you that you have your most accurate, up-to-date financial aid package. So then you're able to make informed decisions on, what your balance is going to be and how you're going to cover that balance. And again, the student financial planning team and your enrollment management team work very closely together to ensure that you have a smooth enrollment process here at the CIA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great, Jeanine. Thank you. Maybe right before we go, maybe if you could just go back one slide so we can just sit on the contact page for a second, just in case anybody's curious and wants to reach out to us, or where to go, those sorts of things. That's great. But otherwise, I think we've covered just about everything tonight. So again, I want to say thanks to all of the attendees who joined today. If there was something that we didn't get to, please use this contact info and reach out to us. Contact Jeanine, contact your enrollment manager. Call the 1-800 number if you're unsure. We'll find a person for you to talk to. That's fine. And of course, thanks to Jeanine for being here tonight, giving us all the great info, and our support people on the back end from enrollment and financial aid who have been helping us answer everybody's questions. Congrats on your acceptance, CIA. Best of luck to everybody. We look forward to seeing you guys in the fall.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure. Again, as Steve says, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you on campus in fall 2021.